You waited for the right moment. Your heart was pounding when you asked her to be your Valentine, and she said nitrogen monoxide. Not maybe, not I need to. Think about it, just nitrogen monoxide. And now you're sitting here trying to understand what went wrong. You replay every conversation, every text, every smile. You were sure she was interested, were sure this was mutual, but it wasn't. And the confusion is almost worse than the rejection itself. Because if you can't trust your own perception, what can you trust? Let me tell you something. This moment, this exact feeling you're experiencing right now, it's one of the most important moments of your life. Not because of her, because of what you're about to learn about yourself. Carl Jung sighed, until you make the unconscious conscious, IT will direct your life and you will call IT fate. Right now, your unconscious is screaming at you. And most men ignore that scream. They blame her, they blame timing, they blame bad luck. But the real answer is deeper. And if you're willing to look at it honestly, this rejection will teach you more than 100 acceptances ever could. Here's the truth most people won't tell you. You didn't get rejected today. You got rejected weeks ago, maybe months ago. You just didn't see IT. The signs were there. The distance, the short replies, the canceled plans, the way she talked about other guys, the way she never quite made you a priority. You saw all of it, but you ignored IT because you wanted to believe something that wasn't true. And that's not her fault. That's yours. Schopenhauer wrote something brutal. He said, "We don't desire things because they're valuable. We think things are valuable because we desire them." Read that again. You didn't like her because she was special. You thought she was special because you liked her. Your desire created the illusion, and you fell in love with your own illusion. This is what I call the projection trap. You meet someone, you feel attraction, and immediately your brain starts filling in blanks. You don't know if she's kind, but you assume she is. You don't know if she shares your values, but you assume she does. You don't know if she's emotionally available, but you hope she is. And with each assumption, you build a fantasy, a version of her that doesn't exist, and then you pursue that fantasy. You ask that fantasy to be your Valentine, and when the real person says nitrogen monoxide, you're confused. Because in your mind, you are asking someone who wanted you back, but that person never existed. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Did you ever actually verify that she was interested, or did you just interpret everything through the lens of hope? She smiled at you. Was that flirting, or just being polite? She laughed at your jokes. Was that attraction, or just being nice? She texted you back. Was that interest, or just common courtesy? Most men never ask these questions. They take the smallest positive signal and build an entire relationship in their heads. This is what psychologists call confirmation bias. You see what you want to see, and you ignore everything else. Machiavelli wrote about something he called due diligence. Before you invest in anything, a business, a war, a relationship, you investigate, you gather evidence, you test your assumptions. But most men skip this step entirely when it comes to women. They feel attraction and immediately start investing. Emotional investment, time investment, mental investment. They build her up in their mind. They imagine a future together. They create entire scenarios of how it's going to work. And they do all of this before ever confirming that she's on the same page. That's not romance. That's fantasy. And fantasy always ends in pain. Here's what actually happened. You liked her. And instead of being patient, instead of observing, instead of letting things develop naturally, you rushed, you pushed, you created pressure. And pressure is the opposite of attraction. When you ask someone to be your Valentine after only a few conversations, what are you really saying? You're saying, I've already decided you're the one, and I need you, too. Catch up to where I am emotionally. That's terrifying. That's overwhelming. And most importantly, that's not based on knowing her. It's based on wanting her. There's a massive difference. Jung talked about the persona and the shadow. The persona is the mask people wear in public. It's who they pretend to be. The shadow is who they actually are. The parts they hide. The patterns they don't want you to see. Most men fall for the persona. They see the surface, the smile, the kindness, the beauty. And they never look deeper. They never ask, who is this person when things get hard? Who is this person when they're stressed? Who is this person when they don't get what they want? Those questions reveal the shadow. And the shadow is who you'd actually be dating, not the persona. You can't know someone's shadow in 2 weeks. You can't know IT in a month. IT takes time. IT takes observation. IT takes seeing them in different contexts, different moods, different situations. But you didn't do that. You saw the persona, you felt attraction, and you made a decision based on incomplete information. And that's why you're here now, trying to understand what went wrong. Now, let's talk about the hero fantasy. Because this is where most good men destroy themselves. You saw that she had problems. Maybe she mentioned an ex who hurt her. Maybe she talked about trust issues. Maybe she seemed sad or lonely or lost. And something inside you said, I can fix this. I can be the one who shows her what real love looks like. I can be different from all the guys who hurt her before. This feels noble. This feels like love. But it's not. It's ego. It's the hero fantasy. And it's one of the most dangerous traps a man can fall into. Jordan Peterson talks about this when he discusses the savior complex. You're not actually trying to help her. You're trying to prove something about yourself. You're trying to be the exception. The special one, the one who succeeds where everyone else failed. And in order to be that person, you need her to stay broken. You need her to need you. Because if she heals, if she becomes strong, what's your role? You lose your purpose. Unconsciously, you're invested in her staying damaged. You call IT love, but it's control disguised as compassion. Here's what actually happens with the hero fantasy. You see her problems as an opportunity. You think, if I can just show her enough patience, enough understanding, enough support, she'll realize I'm the one. But she doesn't see IT that way. She sees a guy who's trying too hard. A guy who's more interested in the idea of saving her than in actually knowing her. And that's repulsive. Because it's not authentic. You're not connecting with who she is. You're connecting with who you want to be in relation to her. The hero, the savior, the good guy. And she can feel that. Women can always feel when your interest in them is really just interest in yourself. Let me tell you what she actually needed. Space. Time. The freedom to work through her stuff without someone trying to fix IT, maybe. She needed therapy. Maybe she needed solitude. Maybe she needed to make her own mistakes and learn her own lessons. What she didn't need was another person making her their project. Another person whose self-worth depends on her healing. That's not support. That's emotional parasitism. You're feeding off her brokenness to feel valuable. And when she said nitrogen monoxide to your Valentine's date, she wasn't rejecting you. She was protecting herself from being turned into someone's emotional. Missiona Nietzsche wrote, beware that, when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. The hero fantasy makes you into a different kind of monster. Not an obvious one. A subtle one. The monster who smothers. The monster who makes everything about them while pretending it's about you. The monster who can't let you breathe because their entire identity is wrapped up in saving you. And nobody wants to date that person. Nitrogen monoxide, matter how good your intentions are. So here's the hard question. Did you actually like her, or did you like the feeling of being needed? Did you want to know her as she is, or did you want to transform her into what you think she should be? Because if it's the second one, you weren't pursuing a relationship. You were pursuing a validation project. And she could sense that. Even if she couldn't articulate it, even if she doesn't understand psychology, women have incredible intuition for when something feels off, when a man's interest doesn't feel clean, when there's an agenda hiding behind the compliments. Now let's talk about the wrong approach. The thing most men do after rejection. They either disappear completely or they double down. Both are mistakes. Disappearing says, I only valued you as a potential girlfriend, not as a person. Doubling down says, I don't respect your nitrogen and I think I can change your mind. Neither of these approaches shows respect. Neither shows maturity. And neither will ever work. Marcus Aurelius wrote, You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realice this, and you will find strength, she said. Nitrogen monoxide. That's the outside event. You can't change it. You can't convince her. You can't wait around hoping she'll change her mind. The only power you have is over how you respond. The wrong approach is trying to change her mind. Sending more messages. Being extra nice. Showing up where she is. Buying gifts. Making grand gestures. All of this communicates one thing. I don't accept your decision. I think I know better than you about what you want. That's not romantic. That's arrogant. And it's a guarantee that even if she was on the fence before, she's completely turned off now. Robert Greene teaches in The Art of Seduction that the moment you appear desperate, you've lost. Desperation is the scent of death and attraction. IT repels. IT disgusts. Because IT reveals that you need her more than you value yourself. The other wrong approach is playing games. Ignoring her, posting pictures with other women. Trying to make her jealous. Acting like you never cared. This is just desperation wearing a different mask. It's still saying, I need you to notice me. I need you to feel something about me. Real indifference doesn't perform. IT just exists. And she can tell the difference. She can tell when you're genuinely moving on versus when you're putting on a show hoping she'll see IT and regret her decision. So, what's the right approach? Let me give you a framework. I call it the calibration method. And IT has 4 parts. First, acceptance. You accept the no fully, completely, without negotiation. She said nitrogen monoxide. That's her right. That's her boundary. And you respect IT immediately. Not because you're trying to be strategic. Not because you think respect and I will make her like you, but because respecting people's boundaries is what decent humans do. Epictetus taught that we should accept what we cannot control and focus only on what we can. You cannot control her feelings. You cannot control her decision. You can only control your response, and the correct response is acceptance. Second, reflection. You look at what happened without the filter of ego. You ask yourself hard questions. Did I rush this? Did I misread the signals? Did I build her up in my head before I actually knew her? Did I ignore signs that she wasn't interested because I wanted to believe otherwise? This isn't about beating yourself up. This is about learning. Jung said the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But you can't become who you truly are if you keep lying to yourself about your patterns. This rejection is data. Use IT. Third, space. You give her space, and you give yourself space. Nitrogen monoxide contact. Nitrogen monoxide checking her social media. Nitrogen monoxide asking mutual friends about her. Nitrogen monoxide. Accidental run-ins, real space. This serves 2 purposes. IT shows her you respect her decision, and IT gives you time to actually process what happened instead of staying stuck in the fantasy. Most men skip this step. They can't stand the discomfort of not knowing what she's thinking. So they keep tabs, they keep checking, they keep hoping. And all that does is keep the wound fresh. Let it heal. Distance is medicine. Fourth, growth. You take what you learned and you apply IT going forward. You become better at reading situations, better at spotting genuine interest versus politeness, better at observing before investing, better at being honest with yourself about what's real versus what you want to be real. This is where the rejection becomes valuable, not because she might come back. She probably won't. But because you, VA, upgraded your ability to navigate relationships. You've become wiser. And wisdom is worth more than any single relationship. Now let me give you the framework I promised. The interest verification system. Before you ever ask someone out, you need to verify actual interest. Not assumed interest. Actual interest. Here's how. Test 1. Initiation. Does she ever start conversations with you? Or are you always the one reaching out? If you stop texting first, would you ever hear from her? Real interest is reciprocal. If she never initiates, she's not interested. She's just polite. Test 2. Investment. Does she make time for you? Does she adjust her schedule to see you? Or is she always busy? Always has an excuse. Always has something more important. Real interest makes time. Lack of interest makes excuses. Test 3. Curiosity. Does she ask you questions? Does she want to know about your life? Your thoughts? Your experiences? Or is every conversation about her? Real interest is curious. IT wants to understand you. Lack of interest is self-focused. IT uses you as an audience. Test 4. Consistency. Is her energy toward you consistent? Or does IT fluctuate wildly? Is she warm one day and cold the next? Real interest is stable. IT doesn't change based on mood or who else is around. Inconsistency is a red flag. IT means you're an option, not a priority. If someone passes all 4 tests, then, and only then, do you consider asking them out? And even then, you start small. Coffee, not dinner. Not Valentine's Day, not a big romantic gesture. Coffee. Low pressure. Low investment. A chance to see if the connection you think exists actually exists in person. This is what Machiavelli meant by due diligence. You test, you verify, confirm. Before you invest heavily, most men do the opposite. They invest heavily first and then hope it works out. That's backwards. That's why IT fails. Here's the part nobody wants to hear. She probably failed multiple tests. She probably didn't initiate much. She probably was often busy. She probably wasn't that curious about you. She probably was inconsistent. But you ignored all of that because you wanted it to work. Schopenhauer said, "We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people." You forfeited your better judgment to chase someone who was never chasing you back. You knew the truth. You just didn't want to accept IT. And that's the real lesson here. Not that she said nitrogen monoxide, but that you asked even though you already knew the answer. Let's talk about what this rejection actually means. And what IT doesn't mean. IT doesn't mean you're unlovable. IT doesn't mean you're not good enough. IT doesn't mean you'll be alone forever. IT means one specific person didn't feel romantic connection with you. That's IT. Nothing more, nothing less. But your brain wants to make IT bigger. Your brain wants to turn it into evidence that something is fundamentally wrong with you. That's the ego trying to protect itself. The ego would rather believe you're broken than believe you simply weren't a match. Because if you're broken, you can fix IT. If you just weren't a match, there's nothing to fix. And that lack of control terrifies the ego. Freud talked about defense mechanisms, ways the mind protects itself from painful truths. One of those mechanisms is rationalization after rejection. Men rationalize, she's shallow. She doesn't know what she wants. She's going to regret this. She's making a mistake. All of these thoughts serve one purpose: to protect your ego from the simple truth that she just didn't want to date you. And that's okay. Not everyone will want to date you. Just like you don't want to date everyone. Attraction is specific. IT's personal. IT's not logical. And it's not a referendum on your value as a human being. Here's what I want you to understand. Her saying nitrogen monoxide is actually a gift. I know that sounds impossible right now, but it's true. She saved you from investing more time in someone who wasn't invested in you. She saved you from months or years of trying to earn something that was never going to be freely given. She saved you from the worst pain of being with someone who settled for you instead of choosing you enthusiastically. A nitrogen monoxide right now is better than a reluctant yes that falls apart later. Much better. Think about what would have happened if she said yes out of pity. Oh, our pressure. Oh, our guilt. You'd be dating someone who wasn't really into you. You'd sense it. The lack of enthusiasm, the emotional distance, the feeling that you're always trying harder than she is. That slow erosion of your self-respect as you realize you're more invested than she is. That's torture. That's worse than rejection. At least rejection is clean. It's clear. It's honest. A reluctant yes is prolonged suffering disguised as success. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." Right now, you're in pain. That's the present. Don't project that pain into the future. Don't create stories about how you'll always be rejected or how you'll never find anyone. Those are just stories. They're not truth. The truth is you asked someone out. She said nitrogen monoxide. You feel hurt. That's the present. Stay there. Feel IT. Don't run from IT. Don't bury IT. Don't distract yourself from IT. Sit with IT. Because on the other side of that pain is wisdom. On the other side is growth. On the other side is a version of you that's stronger and wiser and more capable of real connection. Here's what you do now. Her, for her honesty, you genuinely mean it. You respect her decision. You wish her well. And you move forward. Not to prove anything to her. Not to make her regret it. Not to show her what she's missing. But to build a life that makes you proud. A life where one person's rejection doesn't define your worth. A life where you know your value and you don't need constant external validation to remember it. That's the life worth building. That's the life that will eventually attract the right person. Not because you're perfect, but because you're whole. Carl Jung said, near the end of his life, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." She said, nitrogen monoxide. That happened. You can't change it, but you can choose who you become. In response to it, you can become bitter. You can become cynical. You can become someone who stops trying. You can become wiser, more patient, more discerning, better at reading situations and people, better at knowing when to invest and when to walk away, better at valuing yourself independently of who wants to date you. The choice is yours. This Valentine's Day, you're going to see couples everywhere. It's going to hurt. That's normal. Let IT hurt. Don't pretend you're fine. Don't put on a fake smile. Feel what you feel. But don't let what you feel become who you are. You are not this rejection. You are not this disappointment. You are someone learning how to navigate the complex, messy, beautiful disaster that is human connection. And every rejection is part of that learning. Every no teaches you something that a yes never could. IT teaches you resilience. IT teaches you that your happiness cannot depend on someone else saying yes. So here's my challenge to you. Take the pain. you feel right now. And transform it not into bitterness, into fuel. Let it drive you to become better, to work on yourself, to build a life so good that one person's rejection becomes irrelevant in the context of everything else you've created. That's how you win. Not by getting her to change her mind. By becoming someone who doesn't need her to. That's power. That's freedom. That's growth. And that's what this rejection can give you if you're brave enough to extract the lesson instead of just nursing the wound. The choice, as always, is yours.